Is this thing on? Are we here?
Good morning. Happy fall back.
WTF.
It seems
Oh,
it seems like the eclipse was intense, I thought, and then after the eclipse has been more intense.
yeah. We have a lot we're going to dig into. We haven't been on in a minute. I know I've been on a hiatus. I know you've been doing some stuff behind the scenes too. So
I love
it's
how
been a
we're
while.
both in front of our kitchens.
Yes, and I'm hoping the cats stop by and jump on me. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, it's we're live here at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time uh, with the time zone difference. But these cats were awake at it's pitch black here. Let's be real. I've got like lamps from my living room like surrounding me to give me some light. But these cats are running around like they're crazy. But I know you've got Cauldron. Cats are like so sensitive to these moon and eclipse energies, don't you think?
oh, they totally are. Oh, there's your kitty. They totally are. And I'll tell you, Cauldron was up like every full moon, she's pretty active. Um, but so she was pretty active during the full moon last week. When was it?
They're
Last
fighting in the background. They just whacked each other. Yeah. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I was like, really, they're going to get up here and fight. That's perfect. Thank you for the example in
kitty
real life.
boxing. Kitty boxing. The last couple of days she's been pretty tired, and I ended up being up a lot last night with some buzzy energy, and so she was up in the middle of the night, but now she's like passed out. So I think my upended Cauldron sleep schedule too, because she's like curled up on a chair right now asleep.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Hey, before we get too far into this, I'd love if everybody watching this could just comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. I know a lot of people, including myself, that have moved, this year, and we just like a pulse check on where everybody is tuning in from this morning. So drop us a comment. We're going to be getting into a lot of really interesting spiritual topics today. Even the banner, Mary, Jesus, and the resurrection. I'm sure some of you were like, wait, what? What are they doing? So we've got a lot to unpack during our time together. But I really meant it when I was like, WTF. I mean, what in the world is going on? You and I talk all the time. We were on the phone yesterday and it just landed like, you two need to get back on, do a video, talk about the state of the world, what you think is unfolding, what's happening. And I just like last minute went on Facebook and Instagram last night and was like, hey, we're going to be doing a video. And we had so many people say, yeah, finally, like, we're glad you're back. Um, and so it's fun to be back on here with you. I know we're going to be tackling topics like death, rebirth. They're tackling each other over here. Death, rebirth, and why we think there might be so many synchronicities and visions around Jesus and Mary, and what's even happening in the Middle East. And yeah, so I think we should probably start with just how in the world have you been? What have you been up to? So, do you want to give everybody like a quick update on what you've been doing?
Yeah, totally. And I love this. We've got good morning from Las Vegas, Suzanne from South Florida. And I'd love it too. When you share where you're from, I'd love to hear how people are feeling too about the eclipse and about everything going on. And yeah, my update, I mean, I just published my book, which I'm pretty excited about. And actually, my computer is sitting on my books. So maybe I should take one out and I can show. Look,
It's beautiful.
hey, oh my God, it's so pretty. It really is pretty. So that's what I've been up to. You know, we both took some hiatus. And so this last year for me has been a lot of revising. Wow, Hong Kong, welcome in. Man, far away. Thank you for joining us. Um, Southeast New Mexico. Hi, Adrian. Um, So published my book and am opening my yoga studio here in Colorado, and my home study application is back on. So my mobile app is up and running, and it was a lot of refining. I feel a year of refining, a year of really taking all of my work and taking the clarity I had and like refining it. So besides 4 kids, life, a dog, a cat, keeps you pretty busy for sure. Oh, whoa, we've got morning from Vegas. My husband asked me for a divorce at the beginning of October. Oh my gosh, Nikki,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
that's an eclipse season. Holy moly. Aw, from Las Vegas, miss you. Yay. Welcome in, everybody.
Yeah.
So that's my update, I feel. What's your update? What have you been doing?
Oh my God. Where do I even start? And I just had to give a shout out to all the people who DM me and email me like, hey, I need a session. And I'm like, no. So thank you for your grace. For everyone, I'm like, no to. So it started February. So like right around Valentine's Day this year, I was in my house in Texas and I just felt this pull to leave Texas. And it's ironic, right? Because last year I kept hearing spirit say, buy a house, buy a house. If you don't buy a house now, you're gonna regret it. And then obviously we see what happened with real estate and interest rates, and you really can't even buy a house anymore. So I'm sitting in my house in Texas in February, and I keep hearing this, you're gonna move, you need to move. I'm like, yeah, but my interest rate, like you know how low it is, right? Like and they're like, yeah, you're gonna sell your house. Cool. So I sat with myself and said, oh, if I could live anywhere, where would I go? And I thought, I think it's time to just take a breath where I grew up as a kid. So I ended up selling my house, really easy, straightforward, and moved up to the Seattle area and decided to get a job. Now I even think some people from my office will be watching this. So shout out to everybody that's watching this that I work with. Imagine working in an office with a psychic. I mean, it's pretty interesting. And they all know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was really early on. We do these stand-up meetings. And I'm like, so fun fact, I used to headline a show in Vegas. I'm a 5th-generation psychic medium. You could see like some of their heads pop off of their bodies.
Yes.
But I've really enjoyed taking a breath from working with other people's energy day in, day out. It started to feel like, and if you were my client at the beginning of the year, I probably told you a lot about what was happening with the energy. But it started to feel almost like the Matrix, where like Keanu Reeves is like suspended. The energy started feeling, I'll ask you in a second what you think about it too, Lisa. It's like, it felt so heavy and distorted, and it was hard to even look at anyone's individual energy, any of the world energy. So being someone who was making a full-time living, making predictions, it felt gross. And to me, it actually still feels like this swampy mess of energy. And
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to be in, and I still really don't want to be in the business of every day having to go into it and decipher information. How do you feel about the energy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I are not alone in the world of psychic mediums who took breaks and went back to work. And I guess that's part of my update is I also went back to work, and I work for Core Power Yoga, which is awesome because it's yoga, and manage studios here in Colorado. So hello to all of my Core Power peeps who may also be watching. And yeah, it was the same thing. I think there was a couple things happening. One, it's not like it's impossible to make predictions, but there's so much wildness happening, and there's so much distortion with what is happening that it almost feels like a waste of energy to try to decipher all of that. You know, like in the 2000s when, you know, I first started doing this work with the public, you could pretty much predict anything. It was very clear. It was very clear. The path was clear in the world too, by the way. You know, people as individuals is a different thing, but in the world. And now it's like, oh my gosh, who knows what's going to happen? And you almost need to be in the minds of the controllers and the manipulation energy to really see what's happening. And I don't want to live there in that energy. And so, yes, that's where I'm at. Same as you. It's just like, oh, I can't be in this energy anymore. And so it's interesting, I think, Dallisa, about us going live today and the things we're going to talk about is that even when you want to shut yourself off to the world, it finds its way to you, especially when you have gifts like prophetic dreams and there's synchronicities and all these things we're going to share. And so it's an interesting thing because the world is very swampy. I like that word you used. The world is swampy, and we still have a mission. We're still here, and we're still being called to action. And I think that's what happened today or yesterday or this week for us, maybe this month even, really, with the eclipses, was like, because mine started with the hurricane. I was in the hurricane in Mexico, wrote about it on my blog if anybody wants to read what happened. And I would say that was equivalent to a near-death experience as far as my call to action. After that was 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was like, okay, like time to get back to work. And I can't really ignore my gifts, and I can't really ignore what I'm here to do. And so that's where I'm at with it. I do want to share. Pani says, a few hours ago, my secondary school hymn and those feet in ancient times popped in my mind. The Jesus clue. Wow. Love that. Love that. I'd love anyone who's feeling that connection to Jesus or Mary, religion. I'd love to hear some comments. This is unique to Dallisa and I because obviously we work mainly with the occult, right? So occult knowledge, the hidden wisdom, doesn't always overlap, and yet it totally overlaps the deeper you go in research. And we're going to talk about that today.
Yes, I think I'll share a bit about what's been happening with me the last probably 4 to 6 weeks, specifically around religion, as we get some folks commenting on the video. I'm a firm believer in synchronicities. My neighbor said, "Hey, I've been trying out different churches. Do you want to come to church with me?" Now, I was raised Catholic, and I have really felt a disconnect over my lifetime with organized religion that abide by certain beliefs, because I personally just feel like when you start to define a group, you segregate others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she said, "Hey, you want to come to church with me?" I'm like, sure, something to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Church. And I started to go, even when on the week she couldn't go. I was like, oh, I'll just drive over and go sit by myself and listen to the sermons. And I really enjoy the uplifting, positive, words from the minister. And they said, "Oh, we have this class coming up, and it's about Holy Spirit and prayer." And I was like, "Oh, sure." It's a Saturday night. Go over. And this couple from Oregon were in town and they were leading this class and they were talking about how to pray over someone and channel the Holy Spirit and prophesize based on what you see, hear, and feel for the person you're praying over. And I'm sitting there, again, kind of this like mind blown moment of, wait a second, I'm sitting inside of a Christian church. They're talking about the Holy Spirit, praying over someone and receiving messages. I'm like, this is literally what I've been doing. I'm like, how did I find myself here? And then attended a Bible study class. And I am a bit taken aback by it because I don't really know what to make of it. But one night when I was there at church, I could see the Holy Spirit come in. I could see Jesus clearly present in front of me. And in talking with you, Lisa, about this experience, it's now come to light. And part of the reason we're doing this video today is because we've been having, and other people we know have been having, these sightings, visions, experiences around religion, around Mary, around Jesus, even the cross and the symbol of the cross. So you had an experience even yesterday at an event. Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I do. And I also want to say, for me, I'm Irish Catholic, so raised Catholic, confirmed. Saint Mary is my confirmation saint, and of all things, right? Here we are talking about Mary. And so I would say that I've always blurred the lines for sure between religion and really the religious figures. I used my rosary from Notre Dame in France to chant Om Mani Padme Hum at Dalai Lama events. I mean, I definitely have blurred all those lines. And my work is very much connected to the divine feminine. And for those of you who don't know, Buddhist biohacker is pink and gold because it symbolizes the rose gold flame of Mary Magdalene. So there's a lot of Mary energy behind my work and who I am and what I do. So yesterday, I'm at a metaphysical fair this weekend, or a holistic fair, which is really fun to do. I haven't done that in about 12 years. So I'm pretty excited to be back, actually. It's been just a really interesting, activating time, and I'll be back there later today as well. So I've been having some issues with my car, and that's like a whole other show probably about what's going on with my car. But I ended up driving my husband's car to this fair yesterday that I never drive. So I also put on the radio that I never put on because normally I'm listening, my phone's plugged into the car, and I put on AM radio, which I never do because it was early in the morning. And in my head, I thought I should do something a little more chill and was thinking AM radio would be that. And here is this Christian preacher talking on the radio about death and resurrection. And he was talking about what Aristotle and Socrates, and by the way, I have some of this to read, were saying about death. Now, this is even more poignant if I share the context that I did just happen to survive a hurricane. And while I didn't have a physical near-death experience in that instance, it activated all of the energy from my near-death experience when I was 11. I was in a car accident. And so I have been knee-deep in near-death experience energy for several weeks now. And even prior to the hurricane, Dallisa knows because we talk all the time, I was very much feeling like my work going forward was working with folks who have had near-death experiences and doing more with my mediumship and what happens when you die. And I've been working with several people synchronistically who also have had near-death experiences. And I went and saw After Death that you shared with me to go see. which is a new documentary about near-death experiences, on Friday, last week. So here I turn on the radio yesterday morning, and as spirit would have it, this Christian preacher is speaking about death. And I think, whoa, this is pretty wild. And then he proceeds, so he shares what Aristotle thinks of death, what Socrates, so he's sharing like philosophers and what they think of death, which was very interesting, by the way. And I might even do a whole other show about this, you all, because this is like really interesting, fascinating stuff, and how it links to the Matrix and all of this too. So then he proceeded to share a passage from the Bible, which I'm going to read, if you're okay with that, Dallisa, because I have it and I want to share it because I, of course, looked this up, and it's about my experience too. Okay, so this is about, let's see if I can say this right. Gethsemane. It's Matthew 26, 36 to 46, okay? So this is the passage. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." Now, the context of this passage is that this is the night before Jesus was crucified. And Gethsemane and the garden, and this, I did not know any of this until yesterday, by the way. So I've read the Bible, and I was raised Catholic, but I don't remember anything about Gethsemane. I didn't even know what it was. So he read this passage, and then I go to the fair, and I had a very interesting experience in which everyone was named Mary or Maria, middle name Marie, Margaret, the first 10 people. It's pretty amazing. At the end of the day, the very last person, I was actually packing up to leave for the day, and someone ran over that I had read earlier and said, "Oh, wait, please read my friend." She sits down. She says her full name 3 times. That's my thing before I read you, and to connect with your energy. And I was like, whoa, you're really psychic. And I said, "Do you have prophetic dreams?" Sure enough, she does. We end up having this incredible conversation about the dreams that she has, very similar to what I have with lucid dreams and prophetic dreams and all these things. Well, she says to me 4 days ago, she said, "Jesus came to me in a dream and showed me this like bath and this tunnel and these things." And she said, "I did this research and I found out it was Gethsemane, the place he went before he was crucified." And I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. I have literally never heard about this, or at least I don't recall hearing about this until 6 o'clock this morning. And here's a second person telling me about this. Now, Dallisa, I did some research after I told you about this, and we're like, we have got to talk about all this stuff because there's so much going on with Mary and Jesus. So I want to share a couple of things that's new info. So the thing is, Jesus in this garden at Gethsemane, part of what is happening is he is able to see all of the sins of man. He is seeing everything. And he is asking his disciples to sit and watch with him these things he's seeing. And he says to them, couldn't you men keep watch with me for an hour? Because they were asleep. And I think about our work and I think about everything since 2020, and I feel like I understand what he is saying, which is no one going to wake up and see what is happening here? Will no one sit with us for 1 hour on YouTube and see what we are seeing in the world? And them sleeping is why Jesus was arrested and crucified. And I think the symbolism of this message today for me is so profound. Also, he's saying to God, my Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. And he's talking about death. He is scared to die. He knows he's going to go through this journey and he's scared to die. And he is asking God to be with him through this journey. And so the profundity of this message, and then I shared this with my mom, and she gets on, she's this good little researcher, and discovers that Gethsemane, because I said, where is Gethsemane? And Gethsemane, for some religions, is believed to be in Israel. And for some religions, it is believed to be in Palestine. And we all know what is happening in Israel and Palestine. And we've all been having these premonitions, we being me, Dallisa, other psychics, about mass loss of life. And that's obviously already occurring in Israel and Palestine. I know I don't know anything about this conflict, so I will just say here on YouTube, like, this is not something I know anything about to speak educated about. I know that there's something happening and I know it's not good. And I know I've had some dreams about it. And what I know today is that it seems to me that organically, synchronistically through the ethers, Jesus and Mary are appearing to many of us that have connections with them in some way or another because of the devastation and the loss that is happening. And I also think this is linked to the resurrection and to a judgment day. I think there is a need to come awake. And I just want to say again, are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. That is the message from this passage that I heard through the radio yesterday that allegedly took place in Israel and or Palestine.
I think the real deal Costa Rica summed it up by saying, holy wow. So yeah, I mean, I love when synchronicities line up like that. I think I echo a lot of what you said in regard to there's a lot unfolding on planet Earth right now. And I've heard astrologers, I was watching Cam White the other day, Leo King. I like his videos, Robert Phoenix. There's a lot of astrology that's pointing to another opportunity for awakening. The time frame they're giving is about 12 to 18 months where it's like a OMG, WTF moment, right? And it could be several moments is more likely. But another opportunity, just like, you know, around St. Patrick's Day of 2020, we all know what happened. But I think that could have been an opportunity for a lot of people to wake up and to do the work and look within and heal themselves. Some did take that opportunity, but there were a lot of people that didn't. And in these last few years, it feels like that murkiness of bigger, better deals, superficial, TikTok, all of these Neptune hazy kind of energies over these last few years. So my opinion is that there will be even more and perhaps even worse opportunities for people to look at themselves again and look at the world and their community around them, unfortunately. And I even heard somebody the other day say, the US has been so privileged and they really haven't known some of these catastrophes or wars that other parts of the planet have been through. And their sentiment was, but maybe it's coming. And it's not to try to create fear or, get more clicks or likes on this video and get people spiraling, but it's more, asking yourself the questions, which I believe came from Cam White. One of his recent videos was, if you were going to live forever, what would you do differently today? Which I thought, oh, if I were to live forever. And then on the flip side, which we've probably all kind of thought about at some point, is if this was your last day, what would you do differently than what you're doing right now? So I think there's these points coming up that are potentially going to change everything we know about ourselves, about the world, about each other. But I was texting family members yesterday, trying to get a backstory of like what's going on in Israel and between them and Palestine. I don't get it, right? Just like I'm like, this doesn't make logical sense to me. And what I kept hearing from Spirit yesterday as I was sending those messages was go back to religion, go back to what is being fought over in regard to Jesus, Christianity, and other faiths. I'm like, religion, interesting. So I do think there's more there, as you alluded to in your story that you shared, about how is this all connected to divinity, to life after we leave our physical bodies, and what is next. And it all also ties back to the near-death experiences that we've been hearing and seeing more about. And the after death documentary is actually quite good. So yeah, it's kind of surreal, right?
Yeah, it is. And I have a lot I want to say about that. And I also want to address, the Real Deal Costa Rica, love it, in Costa Rica, says, what do we need? What does it mean to come awake? And also, how do we come awake? And I actually have an answer to this now. So I want to share my answer. And this is my answer. So, I feel that what it means to come awake is really about activating consciousness. And that can happen in a variety of ways. So just like we're talking about near-death experiences, I think when you have a near-death experience, there's a consciousness that activates and you can see the ripple effect of your life. Some people experience life reviews, right? You have this understanding of your life, but you don't have to have a near-death experience to have this. I went through a coaching program 2 years ago in which we learned about the drama triangle. And that was absolutely a recapitulation. And that's the word I would use more than anything, is recapitulation. When you understand something differently, in which it puts your life experience and memories together in a different way, because you suddenly see things differently. So how do we come awake? When we come awake, to the truth about our own actions, choices, decisions, and that they were our choices, our actions, our decisions. When we take responsibility for who we are and we come to understand our own trauma and how we have like our own patterns in life, that to me is how you come awake. Because once you see your own patterns, it's very easy to see patterns in authority in that same drama triangle. And once you see all of that, it starts to kind of put everything together, just like in The Matrix, when Neo at the end of the first movie finally gets it and goes inside the agent and explodes him, right? Like that moment is really what it's like. So I highly recommend reading The Power of Ted, which talks about the drama triangle and the empowerment dynamic. I can't say enough about that book because it will help you to see the picture all the way to the galactic level, really, because you experience it through yourself. And so that is, to me, when we say it's time to wake up, and when Jesus speaks about others being asleep, right, and not seeing is very difficult. Seeing truth is very difficult. This is why Dallisa and I left it all behind for a year and went to a job where we didn't have to like constantly talk about what we were seeing. But we also can't deny that we're awake and we see truth. We also can't deny, going back to what you were saying, Dallisa, that we are privileged. We probably have no true understanding of how lucky we are that we can get on YouTube right now and say, I don't understand what's happening there, versus being inside of it. And that's also an awakening. I remember going to the Kala Chakra for World Peace in Washington, D.C. as a volunteer, and I really had no understanding of politics. I really had no idea. I was divinely guided to be there. And I learned and sat with Tibetans telling me about how they fled over the Himalayas from Tibet when China invaded. And those moments in our life are so precious and valuable because they remind us of how lucky we are where we're at. And some of you who are watching may not be that lucky. You may have been in one of these experiences or in trauma right now, and we're not free of it. And I think that's what you're saying, Dallisa, is we may not be free of it this time. Like we might end up being in it in some ways.
Right. And could it be that these opportunities present themselves that could be disguised as really profound hardships or death or attacks in order for us in our human costumes to have the opportunity to awaken while we are on the earth plane before we pass back over and have our life review and take away the cliff notes of what happened. And so everything that happens in our life, good, bad, and different, I think is meant as part of the lessons you came here to learn. And I'll also say, as part of the awakening, I think the more you can disconnect from social media, and I understand we are on YouTube right now, but the more that you can turn off mainstream news, and the more you can actually sit with your own breath and see how you are feeling and questioning what's going on in your life and why, then you can perhaps sustain more of that alignment of being awake and aware. We've talked about it before, right? But it's like when something happens in your life and you're feeling really upset or triggered emotionally by it, it's taking that gift and saying, why do I feel this way? and sitting with it long enough to dissect your own feelings and emotions, understanding it is all yours. If you're mad at someone, newsflash, it's yours. There's something you're mad about that's bubbling up inside of you asking to be healed. And once you are aware that everything is yours and you take 100% responsibility and accountability for yourself, it, at least for me in my experience, unhooked and unlocked so many shackles and created a space of complete freedom. Because now, if I'm taking responsibility for everything I'm feeling and everything I'm doing, and I'm not pointing a finger at anyone else, but instead I'm going, wow, this really sucks. But why does it suck? And working on healing that, my entire life changed, which is, again, echoing what you were saying, Lisa, about really taking a step back from being in the energy that's unfolding all around us, and trying to look at everything from a different lens, a different perspective.
Yes. And Vishali, welcome in. I love Vishali. And she says, awakening is leaving the perception of Maya and being in peace no matter what is happening. Amen to that.
Yeah. Speaking of peace, I think because at least these last, I'll call it 3 years, because there are so many people that have opted to numb. Now, whether that's through, being on social media a lot, or tuning into, seasons upon seasons of reality TV, whatever your choice of numbing is. Maybe it's drugs, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's being in bad relationships. I think there's a lot to be said about people still being hooked into the drama energy instead of being okay in a peaceful energy. Because if you have been in a pattern of drama in and out for your whole life, and we're saying, go find peace, sit with peace, you probably will have no idea how to do that until you start working with, the drama triangle, the empowerment triangle, and doing your own healing work. You will probably feel like you need to be hooked back into the drug of drama until you're okay and comfortable sitting in peace.
Mm-hmm. Which is why it works so well with the controllers, because they can distract us with lots of drama in all sorts of ways, and it becomes our focus. And when your focus becomes meditation, contemplation, self-inquiry, journaling, walks, nature, being connected in that way, it doesn't mean we don't care. It doesn't mean we don't have life experience. I can't tell you how many essays I've read. My dream is to be just like Emerson and Thoreau in the Transcendentalist movement and just go live in a cottage somewhere. And they were raked over the coals for that. They were politically raked over the coals for walking away from everything. How dare they? How dare they do that? And I think they did it to find peace, and also because they did not wish to participate in the drama. They were following natural law. And I think that is where we want to go. And I think it's interesting because the more we aren't engaged, and I will be honest, I am one of those people who just has not really been engaged. I didn't have a TV since it would have been 2008. I did not have a TV for a really long time. I just don't participate. And I am on Instagram and YouTube, but I don't participate with other platforms. And the beauty of that is things like this, because Dallisa and I had an experience, and someone I never met before had a message and a similar experience. And all of this energy just vibrated and buzzed and created this vortex that brought us here to you today, talking about what's happening in the world when we don't really know what's happening in the world, but we do, because that's the synchronicity of the messages. That's the calling. When people talk about their calling or their call to action, That's what this is. So we can miss the call to action if we're watching reels on Instagram for 2 hours, which I do sometimes. But like, we can miss it. Being in the moment and in the flow allows it to come. And I want to share, one of the things that came up that this Christian preacher was sharing yesterday was what Socrates thought of death. And here's one of the quotes from Socrates. Death is one of two things. It's either nothingness or a change and migration of the soul from here to another place. In the one case, if death is nothingness, and it is utterly without perception, which is like a dreamless sleep. And I want to talk about this for a minute because something happened in 2020. I've been seeing spirits and energies for as long as I can remember, but heightened since my accident when I was 11, for sure. But what has been happening since 2020 is I'm starting to see their transitions. And it's a little freaky deaky because the transitions, you are going to sleep. I mean, that is what's happening. And a lot of times it's just like another night of dreaming when I see the transitions where they leave their body and they're like, oh, I forgot to put the pie in the oven before I left the house. And they're like thinking about that as though they're in this unconscious kind of state. And then all of a sudden they're back at their childhood home and they're, sitting at the table with their mom talking about school. So it's this lucid state. And I can't talk about this enough. Again, we'll do more shows about this because the yogas of dream and sleep, the Tibetan practice of dream and sleep is that, as Vishali was pointing out, like this is the dream. This is Maya, right? This is the dream. This is the illusion. And when we wake up, I think that might be another dream, to be honest with you. I mean, I think you're in these states. And I want to share something, Dallisa, that came up yesterday. And I can't remember if we actually talked about this. But this Christian preacher started talking about the resurrection. And he was reading from the Bible, which I'll have to find. I haven't found this verse or anything yet because I was so stuck on the other stuff. But he was talking about how there was this message of when the resurrection comes, like all the souls will be released and that the souls are currently trapped. And I thought, wow, that's literally how it is. Like we are trapped. Some people, I'll throw out the black cube. Oh gosh, watch out if you Google that stuff. And I may get in trouble for saying it on YouTube, but I don't think so. But, we're in this matrix, right? We have this web of illusion we're in. And I am starting to believe, this is new for me. I'm starting to believe that the reason that we can talk to those that have passed away, we being you and me, Dallisa, because of our gifts, and I think anyone can develop that, but I think we can talk to them because they are somewhat trapped. Like, I don't think we're trapped in the samsara, right? In Buddhism, it's samsara. It's the cycle of rebirth. It can be Maya, the illusion, whatever. But like, we keep having to incarnate, right? All these people saying, oh, I never want to come back. It's like, well, I think you're kind of trapped in this prison. And they use the word prison. And I hate that because I love being here so much. So it doesn't feel like prison to me. And I would say we are. And I'm starting to wonder, because this preacher read this Bible verse yesterday about resurrection, I was like, I wonder if that's really what these ancient texts are talking about, is when this cube or matrix or however this technology works that's holding us here is destroyed or demolished or dissolved or whatever this, however that works, who knows, that we are free from here. And I had another thought about this with the near-death experiences, and everyone go see this movie, Dallisa. I'm so glad you told me to see After Death. But I was thinking about near-death experiences, and I was thinking, I wonder if the reason there's so much love, and it's so light, and it's so amazing, and it's so great, and you see everything so clearly, is because you're actually like, it's like a loophole where you're like free of the matrix for that moment. It's like, oh, I'm out of this matrix experience, and I'm having this true experience with God, with source of my, like the creator itself. And there's so much love. There's unbelievable, unconditional love and joy like you've never felt in your entire life. And it's because you're not in this system. And I'm starting to think that this is all, and I say I'm starting to think, and I know some of these trollers on YouTube are going to say, oh, you're not awake and you don't know anything. Well, screw you. I do know a lot of things I don't say on YouTube for obvious reasons. And I will say, like, I am really starting to understand why we can talk to these spirits when they pass, because there's nowhere for them to go. And they're in this state of this dreamless sleep, where it's like you're in this sleep and it's not even really dreamless. It's sleep, lucid dreaming. So how we behave in our dream state at night is how we come awake in our death. And if we can come awake in our death, I think we can choose our next incarnation. That's the Tibetan teaching, and I believe in that. I don't think you can choose to get out, maybe, but you can choose what's next for you. So that's very long-winded, and I'm sorry, but it's just a lot of stuff.
Whew, it is a lot. It is a lot. We have a lot of positive comments coming in on the video, which is beautiful. Thank you to everybody that has jumped in and been a part of our live chat. I would like to encourage everyone that's watching this video, whether it's now or you're watching the replay. What do you make of it? What do you make of the increased sightings of Mary and Jesus? What do you make of, what's going on with the world? And what do you think is coming next if you do experience prophecy? What's coming next? Flood the videos with your comments. We read every single comment that comes in. And also what I would like to know from people watching is, what would you like us to talk about next? I know we haven't been on in a while, but I believe Saturn turned direct yesterday. So it shouldn't be shocking or surprising that I feel this like, whoa, that we should be talking about things. And because of what I believe we're going to be facing over these next 2 to 3 years, even a little bit longer than that, it's probably time for us to start speaking out and speaking up again, and having this community come together and have these chats and the comments going. So what do you want us to dive into? What would be helpful for you to understand? I've shared this with Lisa, and we've had, numerous conversations about it, but I even closed down the Spirit and Spark Instagram and Facebook. I have the Facebook group still, but I really haven't been posting much in it. But I've just kind of gotten more simplified. If like my Instagram is at Dallisa Hawking. It's just my personal account. If you like photos of cats, you'd probably like my account. But if you want to stay updated on what I have going on, I just say follow me personally on Instagram or Facebook. And that's where I'm just going to kind of keep it simple and tell you when Lisa and I are going to be back on. And if I feel inspired to post a cat photo, that's where it's going to go. But yeah, what do you have cooking in your area, Lisa?
Well, I haven't really announced it fully yet, but I think where I'm at is there's a lot of influencers out there telling everyone what to do. It's really, I've noticed it as I scroll through social media, and true to form, I like to be different, and I really don't want to do that anymore. I still do readings. You can absolutely book appointments with me. It just looks a little different because we create our life. And so my book just came out, which I'm super excited about. And you guys, it's so pretty. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It's just so pretty. And so what I have cooking is this. Next year, starting January 1st, I have my book club, and it's a year of personal transformation. It's very inexpensive. It's like $30 a month or whatever. And I'm going to spend this next year going through my book with everyone who wants to be with me in my mobile app. I have a private community, so there's no censorship. We can talk about lots of different things. But rather than telling, it's a lot of asking. It's a lot of self-inquiry. So, I'm going to be having some circles and teachings and videos, and just really, I want to hold a safe container for us to ask ourselves the tough questions, because coming awake is hard. Self-inquiry is hard. Getting out of the drama triangle is hard. It is not perfect. My letter from me, the author, at the beginning of the book says that this isn't about a cure or a magical fix. This is a process to find your way back in when you get out, and we all get out of that. We're all in our cycles. And so that's what I'm doing. And I can't wait to talk with you more here, and I'll be on here too. I've got a few guests, but I also am going to do some solo stuff this year, because I want to do things differently. And I think actions speak louder than words. So stay tuned. And my site's the same. It's lisamgunshore.com or buddhistbiohacker.com. It's both. And teaching yoga. And I bought a harmonium. I'm really excited. So we're going to do some kirtan and some chanting, and just really, connecting, because I think that's what we need. I don't really want to be the expert, because I think the more I learn, I'm not an expert in anything. I think what I want to do is hold a vibration for us, a safe place for us to learn and grow and heal. And I love all this. Christina, I love these chats, and would love more on this topic. I find it so interesting. I have found my faith a little more. I'm not perfect, but I'm closer to it. I love it. And starting a new life is something I hadn't thought about. Love that too. So yeah, that's what's up. So I think there's more to come. There's so much to unpack here, and I haven't even gotten into the near-death stuff that I've been going through, and so much to talk about, Dallisa.
So much. Yeah, you've got a lot going on. I, on the other hand, just kind of take it day by day, and it's not personal when I respond to somebody and say, no, I'm not doing sessions. I'm on a hiatus. And could I wake up one day and feel, drawn to do some kind of session? Absolutely. But I am staying in the moment with all of that, because I don't want to find myself back in the energy of that murkiness and that swamp. And so I'm letting it show up and unfold of, what should my gifts be doing? How do I bring them to the world in a way that is helpful and does build community? So I'm just going to let it unfold. That's why I was like, just follow me personally on Instagram and Facebook. And as soon as I know more, I'll tell you. Yeah.
I love it. And I love you so much. And I'm so glad we came on, and we've already gotten to an hour, which doesn't surprise me how quick the time went. And definitely continue the comments coming. The algorithms have shifted here on YouTube too. So the more you comment, it actually really supports us as healers and psychics and whatever we are. I don't even know. I don't know if I identify with any of that. I feel like I don't know what I identify with, but I'm just a person like the rest of you. I feel like now I know why the Dalai Lama always said, I'm just a simple monk. I'm like, I get it, because it's exhausting to try to identify with some kind of title. It's really terrible.
Yeah. Well, and going back to what I was saying earlier in our chat, is the act of defining actually creates separation.
Totally.
Yeah. And the other thing that helps outside of commenting, which I hope you're all doing, is also just giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to both channels, Buddhist Biohacker and Spirit and Spark TV. It shows YouTube that you like our content, and they'll show it to more people, which helps the community grow. So as just our request of what we'd like from you as an energy exchange would be like, subscribe, and comment.
Yes. And last but not least, too, I want to say that just by talking about this continues to open the energy. So I'll be very interested to see your own synchronicities and connections with Jesus and Mary and death and life and all of these things. So please share those as well, because that keeps the energy going. The more that we are having these experiences, the more that's unpacking, and it's bringing light to these incredible figures of grace and love and God. So
Amen.
Yes. I love you so much. I love everybody out there. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see y'all soon.